Coming up next on the voice of Alabama politics, more gun violence. Also, Ledbetter sets new standard for leadership. And Tuberville and Marshall hit the road with a new show.
Sure wish I had a drink.
Junior, it worked.
Yeah.
How about that? The magic ring. It worked on you.
Hey. Well, I'll be a monkey's uncle.
Just one stooge short of a threesome. All this said and much, much more coming up next on The V. Welcome to the voice of Alabama politics, where we tackle the tough issues so you have the hard facts. I'm your host, Bill Britt, and as always, I'm joined by Susan Britt, research guru extraordinaire, and Josh Moon, columnist and investigative reporter at APR.
Hi, guys.
Hey, yo.
This past week, Senator Tommy Tuberville and Attorney General Steve Marshall made a pilgrimage to Lower Manhattan to attend the court hearing of Donald J. Trump. They felt the need to bow down at the altar of Trump and show their fealty to him as he stands trial, accused of hiding a payment, campaign payment, to an adult film star. Mm-hmm. Not only has that trial, Susan, made you want to vomit in your mouth, it also looks like the allegations could be proven true. But what is certain is Tuberville said that they went up there specifically to get around the judge's gag order. And while Tuberville and Marshall were there, they spit out the usual lies, and then they talked about how wonderful Trump was and how he was being persecuted. Now, both of them should have pledged an oath to uphold the law in some fashion in their lifetime, but they don't seem to think the law applies to Donald Trump.
No, they don't. And it's interesting that, Tuberville admitted it on television that they were up there to get around the gag order. And it's evidenced by both the two of them and the other five that showed up, I think, the next day, all spouted the same words out of their mouth, even as if it was a written script.
Yes.
So it's very obvious that this is basically, they're vying for VP. That's what Tuberville's up there. He's not up there doing. What's Alabama's business got to do with this trial? He's up there vying for his own political gain. That's all there is to it. And Steve Marshall, I don't know what he thinks he's going to get out of it. Maybe a cabinet appointment.
I mean, Josh, it's pathetic that these men will humiliate themselves, debase themselves for this gentleman who was once the president of the United States.
Oh, yeah. All right. So let's be clear about a couple of things. All right. Number one, what Donald Trump is on trial for currently is paying hush money illegally to a porn star, the star of the Witches of Breastwick 1 and 2. Okay. There is no question that they paid the money to this porn star to cover up this affair. Okay. The only question is whether or not it is illegal and how they went about it. All right. No one is denying that the payment took place. No one is denying. Not even Donald J. Trump himself is denying that this took place. So our two politicians here are up standing in front of a courthouse bemoaning the fact that this former president is on trial for something that involves this hush money payment to an actual porn star. Okay. All right. The other thing here is the specter of our attorney general going up and actively undermining the criminal justice system for which he's supposed to represent. All right. He has no business in this case. And whether or not it is it's going to be determined that Trump violated the law is going to be left up to this jury that has been selected there. There's been no miscarriage of justice. There is an actual legal question here of whether or not Trump violated finance laws in making this payment and couching it the way that they did as a business legal payment to his attorney to this porn star. Okay.
Yeah, not only is
this is what happened.
Not only is that illegal in New York to couch it that way, that's illegal in Alabama. It's campaign finance violations. They deliberately paid her. They deliberately covered it up, allegedly, by making payments over a 1-year period back to Michael Cohen for having taken a mortgage out on his home for $130,000 to keep that story straight after the Access Hollywood tapes came out and they, the nest went poof.
Well, I don't know about Tommy Tuberville's hands or other things being clean, but we know that Marshall has had a, let's say, less than savory relationship with some folks. Again, we can't prove it because people don't want to come forward except to say, but as long as you don't use my name. But they're there for their own political gain. They have no business being there. Now, we asked the question, APR asked the question of Marshall's office and of Tuberville's office, how did you pay for the travel expenses? It's expensive to go to New York. It's expensive to stay in New York City. And neither office, neither Marshall nor Tuberville would answer our question. Now, Tuberville went over to his friendly propaganda site and said, oh, no taxpayer funds were used, Susan. But he didn't say whether he used his campaign finances or if he paid for it himself or if the Tooth Fairy had fronted the bill in Manhattan. They refused to answer the question on how did they pay for it.
Well, I've made a specialty for myself out of campaign finance records over the last 12 years, 13 years now. I guarantee you it came out of campaign finance funds. I guarantee, because Tommy Tuberville won't even own up to his own promise to veterans in this state to donate his paycheck to them and the fund that he created for them. So I know he didn't give his own money for it. There's no way.
I mean, Josh, this goes back to the thing that you've written about a lot and we've written about over at APR, is that these are not public servants. These are individuals who are only in the legislature or Congress or in the Attorney General's office to serve themselves.
Yeah. I mean, one of the guys doesn't even live here. I mean, it's you mentioned, I don't know if any Alabama taxpayer funds went into it. Maybe some Florida taxpayer.
Yeah,
that's possible.
But yeah, listen, you're right. It's a self-serving little event that they took part in. That's all that it is. There's no other reason. It's just hey, look at me. Please, Donald Trump, if you were lucky enough to win, which he's not going to, if you're lucky enough to win and become the next president of the United States, please give me a cabinet position. And for Steve Marshall, it's a, hey, I'm looking to get to the next office after this AG gig. And so I need to shore up the MAGA base. Right. And so here I am standing in front of a microphone saying ridiculous things like this is the worst miscarriage of justice in 30 years. I mean, gosh, just stop it.
Well, I mean, I can think of things that happened in Marshall's office that were much worse miscarriages of justice. But we're going to have to leave it right there. You're watching the V, the voice of Alabama politics. We'll be right back.
My personal biggest pet peeve is kids who are not properly restrained, whether that be in a booster seat, a car seat, or even a simple seatbelt. Kids, they become projectiles, and it's terrifying.
It absolutely breaks my heart to know that something so innocent could be punished so severely.
Your children rely on you to be that person that says, no, you need to put your seatbelt on.
Your home is your most valuable asset. But what if someone tried to steal it from you? Property fraud is one of the fastest growing areas of fraud in the country today.
As a district attorney, I've seen firsthand the devastating effects of property fraud. That's why I'm proud to support the Montgomery County Probate Court's REACT program.
REACT is designed to protect your property and to give you peace of mind. By signing up, you'll receive an email notification if a document is filed against your property.
This program is a game changer. It has the potential to prevent fraud and protect countless homeowners throughout Montgomery County.
So don't wait. Sign up for REACT today and protect your home.
Protect your home with REACT. Sign up today.
Welcome back to the V, the voice of Alabama politics. You know, Susan, I've had, and you've had opportunities where people have suggested that we have these award ceremonies where we hand out awards to lawmakers and praise them and pat them on the back or the head. And I remember having one such conversation. I said, well, you know, we're not great we would not be good at giving out awards that congratulated people because we do a lot more kicking butt than we do kissing facing. But I will say, and Josh, you can disagree with me on this, and I don't expect you to agree with me wholeheartedly. But what we have seen from Speaker Nathaniel Ledbetter is a man who came in 2023 as Speaker of the House and who has transcended the normal politics of Alabama. Now, I don't mean that he's been perfect. I don't mean that at all. But what I mean is he has led the House with what I call a steel fist and a velvet glove.
Exactly.
He has made a lot more friends than he's made enemies. And he has worked with Democrats and Republicans to build a coalition that has passed good things for the people of Alabama. And it especially became true during the fight to get gaming legislation. And Josh, I'm gonna let you speak to how the speaker acted and performed during the gambling legislation.
Yeah, I think it was honestly, in comparison to what took place in the Senate, it was remarkable to watch the leadership that was present in the House. And you're right, it was a coalition that he formed because I think it was very important the role that Anthony Daniels played as House Minority Leader in that as well. And both of those guys working together on that legislation and working with the members that were there. You know, I know guys like Sam Jones, for example, who were working as part of that gambling committee that worked with the House. He was included at every step of the way, you know, and there was nothing. And that's something that builds. People don't understand. That's something that builds trust. You can go in if you have a supermajority, and you can overpower people left and right if you want to. And that's been the way a lot of folks have handled it. And they think it's some source of pride to send out tweets or whatever and say that it's we won't run over the Democrats and we're going to do this, we're going to do that to the Democrats, and but what would you rather do? Would you rather talk a big game, or would you rather get things done?
Right.
And Nathaniel Ledbetter has gotten things done, and I think that's what's most important. I wish he would have stopped some of the craziness that's gone on, because I think he fully well knows that some of those bills were just insane. Yeah. But listen, this is you can only do so much with the crazies that are there.
Well, and I wrote about this last week, Susan, and where he has allowed the worst instincts of some of his members to come forward and has let them have their say. And in some cases, they've had their wins. But I think by and large, he has kept the ship on a even course. Again, these are Republicans. They have a supermajority. They're going to push their weight around. As Senator Shelby said many years ago, when the Alabama legislature is in session, nobody's right to life, liberty, or the pursuit of happiness is in place. It's all in danger,
Well, and that's the wonderful thing that I've enjoyed watching Speaker Ledbetter this time, because he is leading. He is, they're crazy bills, but he's going to have to do some of that in order to get votes on the important bills.
Right.
And it's so nice to see a speaker that's in there working for the state, what's good for the state, not for himself. And so it's been really refreshing to watch him, because he has great negotiating skills. He's got a leadership where he's tough, but yet he's very inclusive. And I've not seen that before in any of the leaders we've had in the legislature.
Right. Well, I think one of the things, of course, Mike Hubbard was a crook.
Yes.
But
It was
he
all
was
for his
a-
own personal gain.
He was a good manager, is what he was. He wasn't a leader. He was a manager who ruled with an iron fist. It was either his way or the highway. And Mac McCutcheon was a relatively good leader who, again, was a better manager than not. But again, you see in Ledbetter, there's a big difference between managing, which is ticking the boxes, and actually leading, which is inspiring people, Josh, to do things they would not ordinarily do. And to form a coalition like this that he has with far-right Republicans and moderate Democrats to get things accomplished. The big bills that help people all had Democratic support, not because of any other reason than they were good bills, but Ledbetter helped and worked to make them good bills.
Yeah, I would say absolutely that's true. And there are a number of things. I think there are bad bills and then there are awful.
Yeah, that's true.
And
That's true.
and a lot of times a win for a super minority like the Democrats are is turning an awful bill into just a bad.
Yeah,
bill.
right.
And I think that Ledbetter worked with them a lot on doing that with some of these bills, and then also on the big bills, he worked with them and built a lot of good faith in providing minority participation in a lot of areas there, and ensuring that minority provisions were inserted into a lot of bills there to make sure that we had minority vendors and things like that in a bunch of those different bills, and to make sure that we serviced areas of the state that are typically underserved by our government.
Well, and I go back to what Senator Shelby said about that your life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness is under threat anytime the Alabama legislature is in session. And we saw that with them going after voting rights. They passed laws to disenfranchise the elderly, the infirm, the disabled, and veterans. They have censored education to the point of really, I think it breaks the First Amendment, and they've done these crazy things. So it has not been perfect by any means. It has been awful by all means.
From the personal IDs on the adult websites to blocking the sitting president from the ballot, also, the embryos gaining parenthood, the Don't Say Gay bills. I mean, wow.
Josh, and we got about 18 seconds, so I don't know if you can get much on this, but this is what we see when democracy is in decline. When you have
Well, yeah, I'd say that's right. I mean, it's but even more than that, I would just ask people, look at those bills that we've just named off that are terrible bills.
Yeah.
Who sponsored them?
Yeah. I think it was the right-wing party of the Politburo. Is that how you say the Russian name for that thing? The Politburo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would think you're right.
It's something more you would hear coming out of Beijing or the places like that than you would out of the United
1940s
States of
Germany,
America.
maybe.
Yeah, I mean, it's 1938 in Germany.
Yeah.
We just don't have any black shirts yet because nobody's been able to find enough black shirts.
Yeah, but they found the red ties to go up.
They did find the red ties
to go to
a
New York
gross
City
of red
with.
ties
Yes.
they bought to go to the Trump worship service. All right, you're watching The V, the voice of Alabama politics. We'll be right back.
Today, Montgomery is a safer city. It's time to shift the narrative and take control of our future. We're reopening community centers, remediating blight, and revitalizing neighborhoods across the city. And we're unleashing new opportunities. Over the past year, companies have invested a record-setting $2 billion in Montgomery and created 2,000 jobs. This is a new Montgomery. And together, we're reimagining the possibilities.
As a paramedic, you wouldn't believe the things that we've seen.
I've seen all types of horrible things.
I mean, we're there basically picking up the pieces from your worst day.
Everyone is just driving and not paying attention.
We all have the same goal. All of us want to go home alive and safe and harm nobody else in the process.
Slow down. Be careful, care about the other people on the road. Don't be the reason that someone else doesn't go home tonight.
Welcome back to the V, the voice of Alabama politics. During the 2024 session, they tried to pass a law that would have criminalized librarians. They could have actually jailed librarians over the books that were in their collection, that someone or anyone can deem as offensive or obscene. It did not pass, but this legislation started in Prattville, Alabama, where a bunch of people from Montgomery who work in government or the periphery who live in Prattville got together and decided to make that library the testing ground for ridding libraries of books that have anything to do with LGBTQ history, sexuality, Black history. People forget about it. They want to get rid of Black history too. They want to get rid of all this. Well, now 7 individuals from Prattville have sued in federal court claiming that what the Prattville Library has done by demanding these books be banned has violated their First Amendment rights and that they're being targeted wrongly. Now, this is not a coalition of crazies like we have with this Freedom or whatever it is, Prattville.
Whatever
Whatever
is this
it's called.
week.
They got a new name
Yeah.
every week. But this is just individuals that have very little in common other than they love the First Amendment and they like libraries. So, Susan, this is a big deal that now there is a federal lawsuit moving forward.
Right. And you said, obscene materials. What they didn't do was define what obscene is. So anybody can basically have a librarian arrested for anything if you don't put a definition to it. Now, you mentioned the LGBTQ books. 95 of the 113 that they're targeting are LGBTQ themed. You'd think this was in the 6-year-old section, the way they're describing it. It's not. It's in the young adult sections. But what these people have done is they've got together and said, you know what? We're parents. We're adults. We can make our own decisions. We don't need the government or the board telling us what we cannot and can and cannot have in our library.
And Josh, I think this is the crux of the matter, that these people realize that it's a parent's responsibility to govern their children, to raise their children, and that the state has no business in going into public libraries and saying, these books you can have and these books you cannot have. Under their rules, To Kill a Mockingbird would be illegal to have. And a librarian could go to jail for saying, oh, it's right over there, Kill a Mockingbird.
Yeah.
I mean, does it make any sense, John?
Yeah. No. It has never made any sense. I mean, this group of people that's suing these folks now, they're not necessarily a bunch of librarians or, folks that go and hang out in libraries all the time. They're just people who like freedom and that they understand what a library is for. A library is a building where you buy up all the available books and you make them available to the public, the tax-paying citizens that come in and get a library card. And it's kind of up to them to determine what they want to read and what their kids want to read, because that's freedom in America. And the book Nazis want to ban and prevent these people from being able to do this because it infringes upon their delicate sensibilities of this group of snowflakes that come into libraries and want to dictate, hey, I don't want my kids to read about there being gay kids out there because they might understand that gay kids are just like them and they deserve to be treated with respect and dignity. Because this is the sort of idiocy that they promote and they push in their house, which is perfectly fine. They can do it in their house. They can do whatever the hell they want to. Just keep them away from my kids.
Well, Josh, are you telling me you can't catch gay from a book?
You cannot, Bill. You cannot catch gay from a book, nor can you catch transgenderism from a book. You can only learn that you should treat these people with respect and dignity and learn that, hey, they're just like us and they've got some of the same struggles plus some other struggles that's going on in their lives. And you might want to treat them better than you treat some other people and give them a little bit of decency and compassion out there. God forbid, because we know that their ignorant ass parents aren't doing it.
Let's not forget that those children that may be transgender and not understand understand what's going on might see a book that says, oh, I'm not alone here. Oh, I don't need to, have suicidal thoughts because it's not just me. Just don't forget those children as well.
Well, again, these are the same people that for the last 20 or half a century fought against gay marriage.
Mm-hmm.
And once that was codified in the law, as tenuously as it has been, they had to get another venue to fight against. And this is it. It's just they do not want anyone other than white Christians to have any power or any say in this
or any
nation.
freedom.
Or any freedom.
Look, these are the same people. Okay, I guarantee you that the majority of them are the same people whose kids are running around with porn on their phones and everything else looking at the stuff. All right, we are the most oversaturated state in the country with porn. All right, I mean, honestly, look at any of the studies that go on about where people access porn from the most, and Alabama is always at the top of the list because of these repressive idiots and the ideas that we don't teach kids about sex education in school because it's this grand mystery that kids want to learn about, and this is what you're doing.
Yeah. Well, again, you look at our sex education and our teen pregnancy rate, which is through the roof, and STDs are through the roof.
But we're still
STIs
teaching abstinence,
are through the roof. And when I lived in Europe, where you had free societies where these things were taught, they were not taboo. They were actually legalized sex workers and all that stuff. I remember in Sweden, they had not at that time had a sex crime in that nation for over 2 decades. They'd only had one murder in that nation in decades. But you come to the United States, and we're going to switch over here, and you have rape, you have incest, you have murder, you have all these terrible things because of our antiquated thinking about life. And Josh, you've written about this 100,000 times. We just had a mass shooting here in the state, just in Stockton, just unbelievable. And yet there is not a Republican lawmaker that is willing to embrace common sense gun control. I don't know what we do, but we got less than 30 seconds. So tell us what we do.
Well, the problem is we've dumbed it down to bumper sticker nonsense is what it is. And so either you're pro-gun, you want to take everybody's guns away, or you don't. And the idea that there could be common sense regulations like red flag laws, universal background checks, closing the gun show loopholes, things like that when you break them down and actually present them to people, everybody goes, oh, yeah, that sounds pretty good. We should do that. We should definitely do that. But then you couch it in this terminology of gun control. And we're coming after your guns.
Yeah.
And this is the idiocy that spreads. And so now we've flooded our streets with guns and weapons, and we've got kids killing each other left and right all over the place. And we're shocked by this.
Well, let me tell you the truth, and we can't move any further. We're going to have to leave it right there. I'd rather have them having sex than shooting each other with guns. Don't you think, Susan?
I do.
All right. You've been watching the V, the voice of Alabama politics. You watch us because we watch them.